One thing I've mentioned before is I do enjoy how fellow fans out there, in their own unique way, are trying to continue the Archie Sonic comics with either their own take on what happens after or basically continuing what Ian Flynn originally had planned. And Archie Sonic Online has definitely been at the forefront of that. Now, there are some that, have been a little bit more frequent in the storytelling, basically keeping you up to date when it comes to their interpretations, like Mobius Comics, and whatnot. They've been more in tune of like, we need to get at least one page out every week, let people know what's happening. But Archie Sonic Online is more along the lines of, we're going to take our time, we're going to build to it, and then within the next 6, 7, 8 months, maybe the next year, we're going to give you the next issue. They also do this because they have other stories they're working on. Their own continuations of what Ian had planned to happen in Sonic Unleashed, with the pre-reboot continuity and post-reboot continuity, as well as his own take on some side stories. Oh, not his, but their own take, I should say. It's early. It's 9:29, 9:30 in the morning on this Friday. I do apologize. But like I said, they even have a series of comics called Mobius Legends, which is their own take, little side stories on characters and situations that took place during certain story arcs of the pre-reboot continuity and post-reboot continuity. And as well as they have their own continuation of the Knuckles comic and taking a lot of the stories that was in the main comic in the later portion of the pre-reboot continuity and even post, and giving it its own comic to be portrayed in and all that. But with that said, Archie Sonic Online yesterday dropped issue 254, and everybody was praising it. Everybody was praising it. Now, I will say this. The backstory takes place obviously before, everything that occurred in 250 and 249 and so on. So that's when the backstory takes place. But the main story is actually really good. It's called Rebuild. The story is called Rehabilitation, and it focuses on a lot of things. It does primarily focus on Sally, which is kind of unique because of the theme for this month, outside of the more fun, silly themes that I've talked about, but the more serious theme for this month, which I think is Mental Awareness Month, or something. And I know that sounds kind of weird, weird of me saying, but the truth is basically the situation with Sally in the rehabilitation story actually fits into that, because the way it starts out is Sally goes and starts her therapy, her PTSD therapy, with Dr. Quack's wife, Mrs. Dr. Quack. And basically the advice that, she gives them is that the strong support network that Sally needs to kind of get better is her friends and families and those that she loves, to be there to help her get through this. Now, obviously, she's still going to take therapy sessions to help as well and everything because of what she did. But, the main thing is, she's going to have her friends around her to help, basically get her through this, get her back on her feet mentally and physically. Well, physically she's back on her feet, but mentally get her back on track. And it sounds like the way they've written this, that's going to be a lot sooner than later. Now, the other thing they did touch upon was the aftermath of the Secret Freedom Fighters, which was a group in the main book and in Sonic Universe. The group, of course, was created to basically take down Naugus, try to free the kingdom and everything. And so what happens here is you have them, in front of the Council of Acorns. And basically what's kind of unique about this is you have Hamlin Pig, who was always looked at as a jerk, a douchebag and all that. actually kind of being very regrettable with some of the decisions that they made. Especially when they were like punishing Sally for doing what she did to help, secure Freedom HQ and such. Hamlin is kind of regrettable and everything, but still kind of very Stewart, if you will, kind of Stewart when it comes to like, hey, we can't, like, basically he's very, in a way, I think he's realizing in the story that he needs to be more unbiased. He can't let him, let his anger or his biasness and everything get the best of him. He's got to be fair. And he's realizing, I got to be Stewart or stalwart, I should say, with my decision as part of the council, my support of the council. But I need to be fair. I need to, see it from both sides. Rosemary Prower, on the other hand, she's a little bit more hesitant at times. You can tell maybe she's adapted a little bit of the Hamlin role, but not much. Because basically, she's not too thrilled that, the secret freedom fighters were created, without their consent and everything. And, she's not too thrilled, at some of the propositions, that are being proposed to them, for what could, come after. Even one to where basically, the secret freedom fighters could still operate, but under the supervision of the council. And she's not too thrilled with that because she's like, we don't need, some group, some kind of state police surrounding and protecting us like the king had. And this kind of sets Elias off because he's like, my father never had that. And it's Harvey Hu, who basically helped create the secret freedom fighters. He's able to calm Elias down, and he's able to make a proposition. He says, look, I understand where you're coming from. I get it. But maybe the former could be something you look into in the future. But he does come up with a proposition as far as punishment goes. And that is community service. Basically let them serve community service and everything, as well as be around when needed, due to the fact that there are other threats out there outside of Eggman and outside of people like, Nagas who tried to take over. So he comes up with a good proposal of, hey, let them serve community service as part of the punishment, and let them, continue to be, who they are. Let them continue to do their job, but under your supervision, for the time being. That's what I take away from it. That's what I take away from it. And I like that. I like the fact that character development wise, you do have Hamlin, who's, like I said, still stalwart, still, steady with, hey, I support the council. We got to do what the council votes on, and everything, and that's great. But I do like the character development where he's basically like, yeah, maybe I was a little too hesitant to act the way I did. So, so basically the punishment is agreed upon. They're going to do community service, and they're going to stick around and all that when needed, when needed. We do get an update on Joffrey St. John and everything. He does talk with Sonic and, and everything, and all that. And basically he's still regrettable for what he did. He's still regrettable. And he asks if maybe Sally can come visit him in his room later on. And Sonic's like, hey, I'll see what I can do. I'll ask her to think about it. And, basically, Sonic, he feels sorry for the guy, but he does now understand, he does understand, what losing someone or possibly losing someone can do to you. How it can make you have a different outlook on things. And the reason he says this is because of what happened with Sally, him losing her to that, so he kind of understands, where Joffrey is coming from emotionally. But he says, the one thing Sonic does say is, hey, look, I get where you're coming from, man, and everything. And as far as any punishment you could receive, being possessed by Nagas is punishment enough. And Joffrey's cool with that. He's fine. He's like, thank you, Sonic. I understand. I get it. and all that. So he's very understandable. Like even when Sonic says, "Hey, you getting possessed by, the Exorcist wizard that you getting possessed by the Exorcist wizard, all that. That's punishment enough." So, Jeffrey, he doesn't bat an eye at that. He's like, yeah, thank you. He understands. Like the character development of him trying to redeem himself, I like. I mean, the fact that he even told Sonic that, yeah, because Sonic even asked him, and before I get into that, I don't want to get too ahead, but Sonic even asked him, hey, do you have any magic that could probably wake Antoine up, heal him, or whatever? And Jeffrey's like, look, Jeffrey's like, look, whatever magic I have, I don't want a chance if it will make him better or even worse. I don't want a chance that. And then, Jeffrey then tells Sonic, oh, by the way, Antoine, Antoine's body right now, the coma he's in, Naugus was planning to basically possess it and take control of it. And Sonic's like, yeah, it sounds about right. And then we get into what I mentioned earlier, where basically Jeffrey asks if Sally can come see him. Sonic says he'll ask Sally to think about it. And that basically Sonic also says, look, I get where you're coming from, how emotions can change somebody if you think you've lost someone. I get that. I understand that. And that's basically also when he says, hey, you being, possessed by Naugus is punishment enough. So, so they do that, and that's that's a nice little moment and everything. Then we go back to Sonic and Sally. Sally's still at the hospital, going through her therapy. And obviously he's asked her if she wants to go see Joffrey, and she basically says, yeah, we can go see him. And when they do, Joffrey's already asleep with Hershey by his side. But what's interesting is they have Joffrey St. John's room right next to Antoine D. Coolidge's room. And Sally, she sees, because they're about to leave, and then Sally sees the room that Joffrey's is next to, and she goes right in, much as a surprise of Sonic. And, she's in there, Antoine's still laying down, bandaged up, coma. And she is just, I wouldn't say bawling, but she's just basically apologizing for everything she did as Mecha Sally. And, she wants him to forgive her and all that. Sonic's there to comfort her and everything and say, hey, he knows. And basically Sonic's there to kind of be like, look, I'm sure he knows, and everything, and all that. And Sally's like, but I don't want him, to remember me as that thing, because as she's, kind of tearing up and apologizing for her actions, thinking that because of her, he may never wake up ever. And, and again, Sonic's like, hey, and Sonic's like, hey, he knows, he understands, he may not be able to say anything right now, but I'm sure, but Sonic's like, hey, don't worry, he understands and all that. He probably knows how you feel. And Sally's like, look, I don't want him to remember me as that thing, and as she says, but I don't want him to be, I don't want the last thing of me, the last thing he sees of me being that thing, that's all of a sudden when Antoine, his hand starts moving and he grasps Sally, which surprises both her and Sonic. And very weakly, he says, it won't be. And then you see the next page and Antoine's like, long time no see, mon princess. And that's how they end the first story. So the first story, Rehabilitation, I did like and everything. I enjoyed. Thought they did a great job. And I can't wait to see how they follow it up next year or in the next several months or however long it takes to do 255 and get it out to the public. The backup story is between Nicole and Mina. And I like that one because basically Mina, it continues on what we saw in that backup story that was kind of like, kind of like a prelude almost to the Secret Freedom Fighters and Nicole kind of being part of that secretly and all that. But anyway, it continues after that and everything. And also kind of continues a little after 250, the Archie Sonic Online 250. And basically, Mina is coming up with a new song. She wants to come up with a new song. She wants Nicole to help her. But then she even encourages Nicole to, maybe write her own song and sing as well and everything. And Nicole, she does, sing and everything. And she's got a beautiful voice, according to Mina. But the only thing she lacks is the emotion. And Nicole's like, look, I'm still learning that. After everything's happened, I'm still learning these emotions that are just coming out of nowhere. And Mina's like, well, why don't you write the song, based on what you're doing, based on what's been going on and, and everything, write the song with what, with the emotions you got gathered up, the happiness and all that, and I'll sing it. I'll sing it. So that's what Nicole does. And Mina sings it. We kind of get like a little panel, a little splash page there with her and Nicole singing on stage. Well, Nicole's there on stage while Mina's singing, kind of rehearsing, I think, the song. And then Mina even encourages, hey, why don't you come and join me on stage? And Nicole's like, no, that's fine. That's fine. And she says, I can still be on stage, but I can do it in a different way. And she shows her, how far she can go with her powers, and basically making something look, legit and real and to the point and everything. And the story ends with them getting ready to set up the concert, but then you see like a possessed Geoffrey St. John walking behind them. And again, I have to mind you, this backup story between Nicole and Mina takes place before everything goes down, in 251, 252 and all that. So it takes place before all of that goes down. So that, and they even put the annotations, on there, the little, I guess you could say, I won't say hashtags, but the little star annotations to let you know, hey, this takes place, around 250 and before all heck breaks loose in 251, which of the Archie Sonic online book. But overall, the backup story I thought was nice, cute, and everything, and definitely set the stage for what we would see in 251 and afterwards. But the main story, rehabilitation, easy for me to say, rehabilitation, I thought was good. Again, the focus that they put on not just Sally, but the Secret Freedom Fighters, the moments with Geoffrey St. John, the reawakening of Antoine and everything, the rehabilitation story I thought was really well done, in those aspects. And again, it's only going to build from there because the plan, obviously, depending on how long it takes, is to get the Freedom Fighters back together. And the other comic that they're continuing on Archie Sonic Online is Sonic Universe, and the current story arc there is with Bunny Rabbit. I think that may have wrapped up already or is continuing for one more issue. But when it happens, it's going to be tremendous. It's going to be great. Now, the question is what happens when we go to 255 and you kind of have Bunny coming back into the picture and everything too, along with Antoine reawakening. What's going to happen? I think what's going to occur is Tails, maybe through T-Pup, is going to detect something with Bunny's cybernetics, and he and Rotor and even Uncle Chuck will be like, okay, let's see what's going on. That's when they'll notice, oh, you got some kind of wiring in here, and all that. You got some wiring, and, that basically, could, affect you. It could affect you. I'm trying to find the right word to say. It's early again. I do apologize. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to notice that there are some wires in there that are put, pieced together like a bomb. So I think what will happen is, when she comes back in the main book and, she has, Tails and Rotor and Chuck see what's going on, because again, I think T-Pup, Tails, the robotic dog, is going to sense something. I think that's when they'll deactivate the bombs and everything and go from there. And that, I think what will happen, just to kind of give a little lightheartedness in the future, depending how long they go, when they do encounter Eggman again, Eggman's going to notice, oh, she's got cybernetics, I'm just going to blow her up, And when he can't do it, he'll realize, oh, shoot, they must have disconnected the wires. Great. So I could see that happening. I could see that happening in the future, when that moment occurs. But I think when she does make her return, we're going to, have a moment where, again, it gets discovered, maybe by Teapup. Hey, she's got something in her. Let's check it. Oh, Eggman's basically said all these cybernetics to, be like bombs in case something happens. They'll, disconnect the wires, give her some new wires maybe, or something like that to ensure that, hey, you don't have to worry about exploding. You don't have to worry about exploding and everything. All you have to do now is just go and do what you used to do, and that's kick some butt. And I think we'll also get a moment between her and Antoine. Antoine will see what has happened, and he'll basically be like, look, you didn't have to do that, and everything. You knew I was going to get better. And of course, we'll get the moment between her and Sally, because one thing they do talk about and kind of joke about with her and Sonic is Sally always giving her little lecture speeches. So yeah, we're going to get a moment between her and Bunny, and Sally even probably giving her a little bit of a lecture speech, which I think Bunny would be like, yeah, I kind of deserve that. And everything for not, realizing, hey, things are going to get better. And then I think with that, you're going to start seeing the rebuild and everything. And if, they go as far as I think they're going to go, I think by the time they hit 275, if they continue to go that far, if not sooner, and that could be the way they're working this out. It's year by year, So you're looking maybe at the next 27 years. Maybe. I don't think so. I think they're going to probably speed it up a lot quicker and everything. Because, again, we don't know how long this is going to go. But I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that. Maybe within the next couple of years, maybe the next year or two, because maybe they'll start spacing it out to where, they'll get teams together to work on different, issues for certain comics and go from there so they can get it out quicker. But yeah, I think we're going to get a moment between Bunny and Sally, either in the next few issues or something like that. And Sally's starting to give her a bit of a lecture, and Bunny will be like, yeah, I deserve that. And then, like I said, we'll get Antoine and her reunited, and Antoine being like, you didn't have to go and do that. And Bunny's like, yeah, but, I kind of missed it, and, and everything. And, maybe you have Bunny kind of emotionally and even jokingly say that she kind of feels that if she would have been robotic, maybe things would be better. Things wouldn't turn out, things would be a lot better than they were. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what occurs and everything. But overall, though, with rehabilitation, the main story of 254 for Archie Sonic Online, the continuation of the Archie Sonic books, and the backup story I thought was very well done. And I cannot wait, again, to see what they have in store in the next several months, if not the next year. Again, I know they have the universe story arc they got to go with, to connect with. And that's a notification. I do apologize if you heard that. There's a notification for either a message or an email or a text. I apologize if you heard that. But like I said, I've got a feel. But like I said, they're going to be working on the universe one, which I think is going to conclude. That's a Bunny story that they're going to conclude with. And then we'll probably get some other ones as well to kind of tie things together before we get into the next issue, 255, which could be next year. But overall, great job, Archie Sonic Online. Thought you guys did good. And let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on 254, the continuation of the Archie Sonic comic through Archie Sonic Comic Online. Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Live chat during the premiere. And until then, I am out.